Oh, it'd help if I added us to the stage. Hi, everybody.
Good day,
You are
everyone.
at our channel, our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and I'm here with my co-host.
Janis Gillham Grady. Good day, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Sorry about that. It's been a while since we've done a live chat, so I messed up. I played the thing and then put us into the thing. But we want to welcome everybody here in the chat, and I have to address one comment that's in here right now from Love Food Kitchen. He says we really should do a pre-video sweepstakes guessing what color shirt Mark's going to be wearing. It's very sad, I know, but I'm quite invested in ever-changing shirts. Well, unfortunately, I'm wearing our G'day Mates hoodie, right, with our Scientology stories on the back. And the reason is because it's 44 degrees as I speak right now in Las Vegas, which is really cold for us. And I have to have the door open for my dog. So I was freezing, so I decided I would wear our merchandise hoodie. And if you'd like to get one, just go down to our merchandise store and you can get one yourself. But they're really comfy. They got a hood and all that. So
Are you hiding a Hawaiian shirt underneath that?
Unfortunately, no, it doesn't
Oh,
go over really well with a Hawaiian shirt. But thanks, Love Food Kitchen, for keeping track of my shirts. And trust me, I've got a lot of them, and I enjoy wearing them. But it's just a little too chilly this morning. So anyway, I'm a wimp. What can I say? How you doing, Janice?
I'm doing good. I got the heat on in the house. I didn't have it in the other half of the house where one of our guests is, so we had to turn on the heat. And she's like, "It's a freezer back here," but I gave her a blanket.
That's good. We want to say hello, get in the chat. Let us know where you're from here. Learning about us is from Austin, Texas. Good to see you here. And then we've got somebody here from Pennsylvania. And where is it? It's moved on me. There we go. Pennsylvania, right? And I'm sorry, Love Food Kitchen. You're right. No shirt. That would have been the bet today. Um, and we got somebody here from Milwaukee. Hi, Ron. How you doing? Welcome from Milwaukee. Anyway, we're doing this live stream. So we've got a story, we've got photographs, we've got special guests that we're going to introduce to you here shortly. But we want to let you know that we will be. Hold on, who's popping that up? Are you doing that, Janice?
I'm trying to pop one up here.
Oh,
There.
okay. From Boda 29. Hey, all. Janice halfway through book one that my sister got me for Christmas. Loving it. Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you want an autographed copy of Janice's book, again, we've got them linked down below, so you can order them if you'd like. Anyway, what I was trying to say is that if you want to get in the chat, please do. We'll be checking the comments as we do this live stream. And then also, if you have a question, we'll go to questions at the end. And so it's really easy for us if you write the word question before you write the question. Just write question, so that way we can spot it, we can star it, we can put it into the starred questions, and we won't miss it. And of course, if you want to super chat us, super sticker us, we appreciate that too. So whatever you'd like to do. Here's one other one we've got from Montana. Hello from Montana. 16 degrees here.
Oh,
44. Yeah, I'll bet. I don't think I could deal with 16 degrees.
no,
I would have to
too
walk my dog
cold.
5 times a day, and I get too cold. And we got Danielle Chamberlain's in the house. Hi, Danielle.
And and Neville.
Good to see you. Hi, Neville.
I, I talked to them yesterday. We had a
Yeah.
nice little chat. Yep.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, Janice. Well, let's go ahead and we will get started. Like I said, if you have
All
a
right.
question, get in the chats, pay attention, and you can put it in there, and we'll start and put it in from there. We got somebody else here from Oklahoma City. Good to see you here, Debbie. And I saw Mary Kay London was in here too. She's from Albuquerque. I think I've brought this up before, but she's a member of our
Yeah.
channel. Hi, Mary Kay. It's good to see you.
Snowy.
Anyway, go ahead, Janice, and you can introduce
All
our
right.
guests. Well, tell
Well,
the story and introduce our guests, okay?
yes, but today I'm wearing my onion peeling earrings because we're going to peel the onion today on disconnection and connection, and that you don't have to remain disconnected. You can reconnect. And I'm on a roll this year about connection. This is my year of connection that I'm going to just keep pushing because this is what Scientology was supposed to be about: connecting up, communicating, being in touch with people, helping other people. And that's gone, to the side. So we're going to go back and I'll cover someone. We're going to talk about my dad, Peter Gillham, and we're going to talk about him with my daughter and my niece. And Peter Gillham, many people knew him as a nutritionist, but also he was in Scientology for 60 years, and he was one of the best Scientology lecturers on explaining the basics of how Scientology worked and applying it to your life. And one of those was all about communication. And so he got into Scientology in like 1953, and I was raised in it. And then, a lot of you know that we ended up in the Sea Org. So for a period there, I didn't see him for 5 years, but he remained in touch. And anyway, so to help me tell this story on reconnecting and staying connected, I'm going to introduce my niece. Yes.
Janis, there's something wrong with your mic. Danielle says they can't hear you, and it's cutting in and out when I hear you.
Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. Danielle, can you hear me? Okay, good.
Now it's good.
All right.
What's going on? But anyway,
good. All right. So my niece, who is the oldest daughter of my brother, whose name is also Peter Gillham, but Junior, her name, well, before I go into her name, we were at the celebration of life for my father, my niece's grandfather, and someone came up to me and said, you got some weird people here. And I'm like, what? And they said, yeah, they came up to me and they introduced themselves as Yvonne Gillham. And they're thinking that they're trying to introduce themselves as in a past life, they were Yvonne Gillham. Well, no, it was my niece who was named after her grandmother, Yvonne Gillham. So let me introduce to you Yvonne Gillham, my niece. Hi, Evie.
Yeah, I go by Evie a lot, but yeah, Yvonne, I love my name.
It's a great name. It's a famous name.
It is a famous name. I tried to avoid the famous part personally because I think I have my Nana Yvonne on a pedestal. I think she just was amazing and touched so many people's lives, and I actually am different in that I don't want people to think that I'm trying to be her, because I try to be like her and do things like her because she was my grandmother and I loved her so much.
Yeah. I remember when you were born, seeing a picture of my brother had of your grandmother and you as a baby together. That was cute.
Yeah.
So, all right. And then our next guest to join her cousin, Yvonne, is my daughter, Erin Grady. There she is.
Hi.
Hi, Erin.
Hello.
We've had Erin on before, but this is Evie's first time on. So please excuse us having a little fun with this or whatever. But anyway, so now we're going to start talking about their grandfather. And we'll start with some photographs. Okay, so this is Peter Gillham. He was originally an accountant, a chartered accountant in Australia, and he was also a judo instructor. And then he became a Scientologist and started a Scientology mission. And he would do lectures, and he just started building it. And he became a father during that time period. We can go to the next picture. He could do a lecture and they'd promote it. 250 people would show up for his personal efficiency lectures. Scientologists and non-Scientologists, they would all just show up. And it was funny, I was going through some stuff yesterday and I found this whole folder just full of success stories that people were writing about how incredible his lectures were and how much fun they had doing the practical of learning what he was teaching them. All right, we can go on.
The first time I met him when I was 16 years old in Washington, D.C., and I did one of his courses. It was like a weekend lecture seminar, and he was amazing. I'd never met anybody like him. He could. It was about disseminating or selling, getting people to do things. And he was amazing at it. And anyway, that's when I first met him, when I was 16.
Right.
I just want to say really quickly, it's so funny because I've never listened to any of his lectures, but as my grandfather, I still sort of received lectures. like he would lecture on magnesium as long as you would let him. And, tell you stories about important life lessons he learned, and it would just go on again as long as you would let him. But he was so interesting and brilliant, so it was fine to sit and listen. But it's funny, he always was in that lecture space.
Yeah. he was a good lecturer.
Yeah.
Yes, Evie.
He'd always tap your arm.
Oh yeah.
Tap your arm. Direct eye contact always, and he would always tell us, you maintain eye contact. It's a matter of respect for the person you're talking to. And it was always about having respect, conducting yourself in a respectful manner for the person you're talking to, listening. He would always say, tap your arm and say, you see, and you wait for them to respond. And if it takes them a long time to respond, that's okay. You listen. I was like, right. All right, Granddad. Sure. Yeah.
Good. All right. So here he is as a father of 3 little kids.
So cute.
My brother on the left, my sister on the right, and me in the middle. And then here's I don't know if we'll find that one again, but okay. Then here we are in Brisbane, my mom and dad and my brother on the left, my sister on the right, and me in the middle. We seem to always take photos that way with me in the middle, though I'm the youngest. So this was taken in 1961 in my grandmother's backyard before my parents went to St. Hill for training on the St. Hill Special Briefing course to become better auditors. And then there's no earlier pictures of a family because in 1968, we ended up in the Sea Org, and I didn't see my father for 5 years while I was in the Sea Org because I was stuck in Europe on a ship. And then finally, my mom was like, I'm going to get your dad to pay for you girls to take a leave of absence and you can come see me and him. So I finally got to see him in 1973. But in 1978, he took the family, 1979, he took the family to Australia, where we got to see our grandmother and uncles and aunts who we hadn't seen for 13 years since we'd left Australia. So that's that next picture here, which was Christmas 1979, right there. And that's me on the right, sitting in front of my grandmother, who she lived to 96 years old. And she was a darling. She was a dear, a very, very old in her ways. Anyway, that's my brother in the back next to my dad in the Hawaiian shirt and his older brother. And then in the front is Fernando. And then my sister-in-law, Doreen, and Kay Gonslin, who was my dad's girlfriend at the time. So that was a fun family get-together. And
this is before you were married to Paul, right?
Yeah, Paul and I were writing letters at this time. So yeah, so he didn't get to come on the trip. He was in Clearwater and I was in Hemet. Okay, next picture. And this is when Paul and I got married. There's my dad who gave me away, Heber, my stepfather, who was the minister, Paul, who was my husband for 41 years, and Kay Gonslin, my dad's girlfriend, who held the part as mother in the wedding.
You can definitely tell it's the 70s by Paul's tuxedo. I had a similar one when I went to my high school prom with the ruffly shirt and the big bow tie.
Yeah, it was actually November 1980, so we were out of the 70s.
Barely.
Right out of the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Okay.
A lot of times people talk about when they go to weddings, you should wear classic attire because 20 years from now, you don't want to know what your clothes look like. You know what I mean? You want to look like it's timeless.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah. All right. And so with us having moved to California, Dad stayed in close touch with us. And this here, he actually took Paul and I and Terry and Fernando to the Olympics in 1984 when they were in LA. So that was just a fun outing. And Dad he stayed in touch, and I would drive to him from Hemet or from La Quinta to LA to see him on my liberties. And he would then give me gas money to get home because he knew I didn't make much money. But he stayed in touch with us kids. Next photo. Okay, and then this here is his first grandchild, Yvonne Gillham, sitting on his shoulders. That's little Evie. Now, what we didn't know is at this time, my brother had blown the Sea Org, and he had been declared and was not supposed to be in touch with any of us. And I didn't communicate with my brother for probably a good 8 years because he was not in good standing as a Scientologist, and I was in the Sea Org. My dad, however, was secretly in touch with my brother and got to spend some time with his first grandchild. And he didn't even tell us that he was seeing them. But he did forward photographs of Yvonne. When he got some photographs, he would send them to us. And I just think my brother mailed them to him. I didn't know my brother was actually hanging out with him.
Is that you, Yvonne, on his shoulders?
That is.
Yes, it is her.
Yeah, okay.
Took me to Disneyland.
Yeah, and there he was teaching her to read. Is that one of your munchkins I can hear, Yvonne?
Yes. I hope the show appreciates my.
There he is.
A little bit. He's completely covered in marker now. Come on.
He's covered in marker. That's great.
Oh, yeah, that's JP, James Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah, there he is. He's a wild one.
Here, I'll put him here so you can see him there.
There he is.
Hi.
Hey, JP.
Your hand, it's green.
Yeah, he's green. Can you go help on the windows, please?
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so Dad spent a lot of time with Evie as a young child. And then my sister left in January of 1990, and Paul and I left in August. And I was pregnant with my first child, John, Erin's older brother. And we went and stayed with my brother when we first left. I had nowhere to go, so I showed up on my brother's doorstep after 8 years. Can you show the next picture, Ma? So here we are with my dad's second wife, Yvonne. She had the same name as my mother. And then I'm going from left to right. Then my dad, my brother, Peter, with his son, Richard, behind him. My half-brother, Ian, in the back. And then in the front there in the middle is my Aunt Beppy, who'd come over from Australia to visit. And she's hanging on to Yvonne's younger sister, Nicole. And then there's Nicole being held by her mother. There's Yvonne being in the pink, being held by her mother, Lauren. And then Paul and myself. And you can see I'm pregnant in this picture. And this was we'd only been out maybe about a month when my Aunt Beppy and Uncle Tom came over from Australia to visit. So we did some family activities together. And that was fun because I had not, spent any time with my brother. I hadn't even met Yvonne and Nicole and Richard. And here they are, Yvonne, you were probably around 7 at this time, and Nicole was 5 and Richard was 2. And I hadn't even met any of them. So this was meeting them for the first time. Okay, and then here we are. I'd had my son, and Dad came to Las Vegas to visit us. Now, so you can see that even while he was in good standing as a Scientologist, he did not consider it an overt or a withhold that he was associating with his family. There was times he didn't see us, but he did make effort to come see us. Well, after he came to visit us here, there was a private investigator who was living in our lives in Las Vegas, Dave LeBeau. Dave LeBeau reported to Scientology, to OSA, that Peter was visiting his declared children in Las Vegas. So Dad was pulled in and sec check, put through security checking for 2 years under OSA to find out what mutual overts or withholds he had with his girls, with his daughters. And so he even sent us a message saying, I won't be able to see you for a while. So I end up having, John was 3 years old when Erin was born. And then Erin grew up without a grandfather for the first several years of her life.
I didn't have a grandmother either because she died.
No, right. You didn't have a grandmother either. So Kimma Douglas and Mike Douglas actually took on the job as being grandma and grandpa to my kids because they didn't know their grandfather, Peter, and Yvonne had passed on, and Kimmer had been a very close friend of my mother's. So they took on that job as grandparents.
That makes me want to cry.
Photo in Las Vegas when we took this photo, it was at our apartments. That's out by the clubhouse and the swimming pool. And I lived in the apartment upstairs, and I took that photo.
Yeah.
I just want to say, sorry if I do cry, but I'm so glad that that Kimma and Michael did that because it was really hard not having a grandparent on either side, right? Like, I thought about it a lot. So I'm really glad that they did. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Like the amount of people who understood what disconnection could have, what effects it could have on people, that would step up and be a part of our family. And it was amazing because they understood that it hurts, it hurts, especially the children growing up. They need those people in their lives. And for them to step in, we were so blessed, and we are still so blessed that our family is so large for that reason. And
for them. I agree, and I did feel like I had hundreds of family members that were not related to me by blood, but there were definitely people who cared about us, who respected and loved my parents and treated us well as their children because they did exactly that. They understood it, but it still was a thing that I thought about regularly of like, I know I have this, but I still can see that I don't have this. And it was just like I already felt very different because I couldn't talk about my family being ex-Scientologists. At the time, it was too soon of them leaving. It was a huge secret. There was like all this pressure to keep that part of our life totally secret. So there's already a layer of disconnect, and to not even be able to be like, I have this experience with my grandma and grandpa, like a normal kid would be telling their story at school. You know, it was just another layer of not being able to relate to the average person and feeling like an outcast because of the dynamic happening in my family for generations.
Right.
That's a good point.
Point. Yeah. All right.
Sorry for the emotions, everyone.
It's okay. So what happened there is I then decided to send photographs to my dad of the kids. So whenever I'd get a roll of film developed, we didn't have digital in those days, I would always get 2 to 3 copies made. One for myself, one for my sister, and one that I'd mail off to Dad. And that's why I have so many photographs, because when he passed away, I took over all his photo albums. But I would mail a set of photos to my dad so he could see the progress of his grandchildren growing. And, you know, the cousins would come visit, little Evie and Nicole and Richard, and I'd include photos of them. And I started then doing a yearly calendar. And I'd do, like, for June, it would be a picture of Erin, or April, it would be a picture of Yvonne and John and Richard, because they're all born in April. And then I put the birthdays of all the kids, including myself and my brother and sister, in the calendar. And every year I sent this calendar to him, and I just kept up doing the photographs. And then one year we got a message from a friend that she could set up a meeting between the grandchildren and their grandfather, because he'd really like to meet them. And so, he'd like to meet mine, Erin, and see the kids. So we set it up where my brother and I took our kids to Disneyland, and the mutual friend, came over. She'd been in Scientology, and then she'd gotten out. She'd kind of quietly drifted away, so no one really knew who she was. And so we then turned our kids over to her. She drove them over to a hotel where their grandfather was, and so they all got to spend a few hours with their grandfather. And here's a picture of that. There's Peter. On the left is my son John. Next to him is his cousin Richard, and then that's little Erin in the front there in the red shirt, with sitting on Yvonne's lap, and then Nicole on the right.
Yeah, and this is my first time meeting him.
That's great.
Yeah.
And Erin, how did you feel finally getting to meet your real grandfather?
I don't remember the entire experience, but I remember extreme excitement going into the hotel room and being super happy to be with all my cousins and my family, and like that it was a family moment, like a real family get together. I remember that being very exciting. And we had a lot of fun. There's other photos from this that you can see we're all laughing and having a fantastic time together.
Granddad let us jump on the bed.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
That's because it wasn't his bed. It was a hotel bed.
It was an opportunity to teach us good form in jumping.
Oh, yeah. He loved the trampoline, didn't he?
Your hands to the side. I remember when I was young going to his house. We would be dropped off because my dad and granddad always walked that line. So my dad did not want anyone getting in trouble or anything. So we would be dropped off at granddad's house and we would get to play. I loved it. In fact, the photo where Uncle Tom and Aunt Beppy are there, and we're wearing that neon pink and neon green. Granddad's wife, Nana Yvonne, second, Jasper, she sewed those. She had made those for us, and then there was this little fashion show that was at the fabric store that she bought fabric from, and so we did that for her. We walked the catwalk for her, and she made the best custard, and they would always have little Aussie candies, and we would get little koalas that we could cook to things. Watch Disney movies in the living room with our cousin Ian Uncle Ian. So it was a lot of fun as kids, playing these little toy pianos, jumping on the trampoline, granddad teaching us about vitamins and health and how nutrition is very important. It was a lot of fun. So then to have this period where we didn't talk to him at all was very impacting. Absolutely. And then to have this moment where we get to see him, I remember jumping up and down and being like, "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" I felt like I just won a raffle. I was so excited. And so we go to this hotel, and it was like, okay, this is a little weird, but okay. And we were all cousins. We're all really close. Our parents all worked really hard to make sure that we had that closeness. So seeing Erin and John and having my siblings there, we were just having a blast. And then Granddad shows up, and we were all like, and we rushed him. Do you remember? All of us rushed him. Gave him this huge hug, and he was so happy. He loved us so much, and all walked that line so carefully because he really loved us. They're good form, always.
Yep. There he is.
Pointed toes too.
Yeah.
What's that? Who is that?
I said, John. He's even got his toes pointed. That's very good for him.
Yeah.
That same trip?
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, same trip. Well, Peter had been a gymnast. He'd actually been, his school had won state back in the 30s, 40s, 1940s. But yeah, so Dad had been a gymnast. So he was teaching John a headstand. So, all right then.
You ready?
Yeah, we'll move on. All right. This is the same trip, isn't it?
Looks like the same age.
It looks like the same time.
Yeah. So that's Richard, my brother's son, on the left, and John, mine, on the right.
And it looks like a little koala toy, just like Yvonne was saying. It's a koala toy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, same trip, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would take us out to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a different trip, because that's maybe a little later on, where he actually he came to Las Vegas to do some research on trusts and wills and that type of thing. And he snuck off and came and saw us.
Mm.
And he wasn't supposed to, but he did it anyway. Good. All right, next one. Yeah. And that was a trip we did to LA. So we told Dad we were going to be in LA. And I think we'd gone to the Queen Mary or something. And we told him we'd be in LA, and he was going to be with his horse. So we went out and met him there with his horse. And he always made sure there weren't other Scientologists around to, they would think, oh, he's just gone off to see his horse. No, he's off seeing us. So that's Erin with him.
Janis, how did you communicate with him back in those days? There weren't cell phones, so how did you do it?
Telephone.
So you would just call him, like on down low?
Yes.
To set these up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I was going to say, I think it was after this trip, shortly after this trip, he came to Vegas and surprised me with a horse that he'd bought for me because of this.
Oh, yeah, when you got Dreamer.
Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have been, maybe like a year or two later. Like I think this was one of the times before that I'd seen him.
Right.
And he kind of realized I liked horses.
Yeah. Yeah, he came from a horse family. His own father had been a horse trainer for the Australian light horsemen.
Where did he live?
His daughter obviously has a ranch.
Yeah. What was that, Mom?
Those days. Where did he live in those days?
In these days, he was living in Los Angeles. Well, he had a place in Clearwater and a place in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the horse was in Los Angeles too?
Yes. Yeah, in Griffith Park, and he'd go to the park and ride there.
Got it.
Dasher used to stay at our.
Yeah, when Terry left the Sea Org, she had her horse in your backyard up in Upper Ojai.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, it is really sad having to sneak around to see your grandchildren. But,
yeah, particularly for him, Janis, I want to point out for him, he was taking, his whole business and his whole life was Scientology at the time, and he was taking a real risk because anytime he picked up the cans to do processing, he had information that was basically considered a withhold or something he shouldn't have been doing, and if it got found out about, he would get in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yes. And that's why he kind of tried to stay away from his 3 children and just associate with the grandchildren. But he still had to sneak around doing that or getting it set up.
For people who might not have known him, I think it's important to say that this was a man who was very disciplined. So when he was around us, it was about the joy of being with his grandkids. We didn't talk about, we were all in our best manners. Like he would tell us, he would come and he would be the teacher, and there was no gossip. We didn't talk about things. hugged and we talked about dinner, and he would teach us things and talk about nutrition. But I don't think he felt like he had to get on the cans and like hide anything, or certainly not say things. He would, but he was very, very disciplined. And this was a person who carried himself at every moment of every day in the way that he thought was his best foot forward and the right thing to do. This was a very disciplined man.
Yeah, like there was a boundary there that was very clear between his time with his grandchildren and then his lifestyle with the church, so that there is no withhold that you feel guilty about, right?
Well, no, I meant more withholding from Scientology, not to let them know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was he a fun grandpa? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know he was very disciplined. He was disciplined in his life, but like, could you wrestle with him and get rambunctious?
No. I'm the youngest. She's the oldest. So we both had very different experiences of him. You would have gotten to know him when he was younger too. I knew him when he was quite old.
Quite old.
Well, he was.
He would joke with me. He used to call me Mumbles because I told him he needed a hearing aid. I was like, oh, you can't hear any of us. You need a hearing aid. And he goes, well, if you don't mumble, speak directly to me. And I was like, I don't mumble. For like 2 years after that, he called me Mumbles.
He was really stubborn about the hearing thing, but his hearing was so bad at the end, and it was just obvious that he needed them.
And very, we could always joke. So that kind of a thing, like, it wasn't a tense moment. It wasn't a, like, him calling me Mumbles. He had a fantastic sense of humor. Very Aussie. Very Aussie.
Yeah. He liked telling jokes. He liked telling long stories that were jokes.
Long stories.
Oh, yeah.
Those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. He was very, very.
So here's the next picture.
Okay, so here, he was coming to Vegas, so I let my brother know, and my brother shows up with his kids again, and so we all had a family get together. And it was shortly after this, we went to an Aboriginal art display exhibit here in Vegas. So we thought that was very appropriate. And so then this was a Thanksgiving that same year or shortly afterwards, where we all got together again.
Now, at this point, was he like being a little bit more, he wasn't afraid to come see his kids, like you and Peter and Terry?
Yeah, he wouldn't tell anyone, and we wouldn't post the photographs anywhere. It was still on the sly, him showing up and spending Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever with us.
Right, and this was the age time period where Dave LeBeau was no longer spying on us, right? This was
exactly.
After Dave LeBeau. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
We may have had Paris Khan around, but he wasn't really interested in what Peter was doing. He was more interested in what I was doing.
Right. He was interested in you. Yeah. And we just didn't promote, because even you didn't know all these times that, we'd see Dad, that he'd show up. And he'd either, he'd stay with me or he'd stay with Terry, and, we'd make sure his car wasn't somewhere if he drove up. But in 2002, I had planned a trip to go to Australia to see my cousins and, take John and Erin down there to see where some of their family is from. And my sister contacted Dad and said, Dad, we're going down there. Do you want to join us? So he actually came down with us and went to Melbourne with us and Sydney and briefly up to Brisbane. And he had a great time. The kid, Erin and John got to know him a little better, and along with seeing other cousins. What was that, Erin?
It was really fun. The only thing was he was very scary at driving on the other side of the road. That was alarming, but everything else was great.
I was the one who, when we first arrived, because he'd been used to driving in America for so long, and when we first arrived, I was in the front seat with him, and I'm like, Dad, I kept telling him, move over. And then I finally said, you're freaking me out. You're too close to the parked cars. And then I finally stopped him and I said, I can't take this. And I switched with Terry. And then later on, my uncle was like, I taught your dad how to drive. No, he didn't. Dad's the one who taught him as the older brother by 6 years. But my uncle was messing around. And then he goes out with my dad and then he comes back and says, okay, I fixed him on all his driving. He now knows how to drive better. Crazy. Okay, so here is another trip. He find reasons to come to Las Vegas. What was that, Erin?
I'm just noticing my mood swings between the photos. There was a photo before where I was like excessively happy, and now this one, I'm so upset.
Oh, that was a long day.
And earlier in this video, I'm crying. Like, this is just, it's the day of emotions, I guess, for Erin.
Yep. Yeah, and this one, Uncle Hal is in here. Uncle Hal was a local Las Vegan. He had actually come from New York. He was mob connected. He was a knee buster in his younger days. And he kind of liked Paul and I and would come to our mortgage company and he'd bring us deals. And he just kind of hooked himself onto the family and we always called him Uncle Hal. And he used to, when he heard the story about the disconnection and stuff, he's like, whose knees do I have to go bust? Just give me a name. And he always called Paul my driver. Anyway, my chauffeur. Is your chauffeur coming along with you? So anyway, and here, they're up like this, I think.
Oh, okay.
Here, Paul was working for Zions, and there was a UFC event going on in LA, down at Venice Beach area. So I got word to Dad and said, I'm going to be in Venice Beach with the kids from such and such to such and such. And Yvonne and Nicole and Richard came down with their parents to see John and Erin and Paul and I. And Dad showed up and joined us for the whole day and just hanging out with the grandkids again. And
any chance he hang out with us?
Yeah, any chance he had, he didn't tell Scientology that he was doing this, but he was doing it. And then there he is with the 3 granddaughters. Next
What's
one.
your mood there, Erin?
I don't know. I just think I was constantly being goofy. That's what I'm getting from this. It was just goofiness.
You look like you just got something for free or something.
I took some pictures the other day and she was like, you've always been your own person. And I'm like, yeah, clearly. Like, look at this. I was just in my own world.
Yeah. And this one here, we actually didn't see Dad for several years in between here. And then he came up to see us. And this time, I think he was telling us, he says, you're not going to see me for several years. I'm going to be out of touch. But you know how to always get a hold of me. But he wasn't going to be able to talk to us because he was going to go and work on getting his eligibility to do the OT levels. But so we had a family gathering for this. And this is the one, if you look at John and Richard in the back there, they both got Band-Aids on their eyebrows. They got a little bit too physical in a basketball game. And we had to take them both to emergency and get stitches over their eyebrows.
Well, that sounds like they were fighting. They weren't. They bumped heads.
No, they weren't.
They were focused.
They were both focused and they bashed heads into each other and both ended up with a similar scar.
Yeah. They both determined to get that ball.
Wait, really quick before we jump photos. Just based on my age there, you said that he was gone for a few years before this and a few years after. I'm not exactly sure how old I was when I went to Kimma's and called him, but I do know that there was a period of no connection and that's why I called him. And I was I left a message on his voicemail basically saying how I missed him. I didn't understand why he'd gone away and when would we see him again. And do you remember what year John and I went to stay with the aunts and the Kima?
No, I don't. I'd have to look at my calendars.
Okay.
But you're right, because that I think is around that time when he showed up again, because there was a period where he didn't show up, and then you made that phone call and he showed up, and also around that same time was when it was my birthday and he called me to wish me happy birthday, and he hadn't said anything to me for years, and I was like, how'd you remember it was my birthday? He says, your calendar.
Yeah.
So that's when I really knew my calendar affected him, that he took the time after not being in touch for years to make that call on my birthday.
And then I think it was, he had those several years again of being disconnected. And then it was after that, you guys were trying to convince him to move to Vegas. And then he did, right?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get to that part.
All right.
Though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is actually a little before, I think, before that family photo. Yeah, it was. My brother had graduated. He'd gone to college after leaving the Sea Org and working and being able to survive. He then got himself through college and became a certified chartered accountant and also a registered agent, where he could actually deal with the IRS on people's taxes and represent people tax-wise. So that was a major accomplishment. And he was following my dad's footsteps as a chartered accountant. So Dad did show up for that graduation, which was nice. And then here's this is a few years back where the whole family's there hanging out at Terry's, having a dinner. My dad's there next to me in the middle back there. And we're all there.
Can I say that these photos in sequence, it makes it seem like we were a close family. That's because we are a very close family, but it was a lot of work for him he would show up, give hugs, strong hugs, tell us how much he loved us, and then he'd be gone again. And it was, I remember a lot of work for him.
Yeah. But I remember he would always try and make sure that we knew we were very important to him, even when he wasn't there. Like, I think it was my mom who relayed the message, but she'd sent him a CD with me and a bunch of other kids singing on it. And I think I had a solo on there too, but he would just keep the CD in his car and he would play it. It was like, all he would listen to was me singing. And it was very, very sweet. So I knew even in like long periods of time without seeing him, he was constantly thinking of us.
Right. And he even would send some money to sponsor your singing group.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did.
I was just going to ask, like my grandparents used to send me money or grandkids money. Did you guys ever get gifts from him, things like that? Or obviously,
he would give money.
Yeah,
cards with money. And then at one point, I remember Terry and him, it was usually like a combined card, but that was later on when he needed much more help and she was much more involved in his life.
Yeah. But otherwise, I think he'd always put $100 in with the card on their birthdays going off the calendar and mail it off. So that was always nice to hear when they got that birthday card with money in it. And then here was another dinner but this was with the grandkids, not the parents, because he was trying to behave.
But I think we were celebrating multiple birthdays at once because even though our birthdays are spread out, he could only come and see us that one time, really. Because none of us have birthdays close enough, other than John and Richard, to really be doing 3 candles or 4 candles.
And Yvonne, because Yvonne and Richard and John are all early April, so this must have been an April birthday party for the 3 of them.
But there's a 4th one, which was maybe my June birthday being included.
Because
there's 4. So I don't know when Nicole was born.
October.
Oh, okay.
He would impress people, the waiters, chefs, anybody who come by the table. It was really incredible because he always make direct eye contact, and he always had so much respect for the person he was talking to. And so he would say, this is after a show, we'd all gone to see a show, and we were doing the dinner afterwards at a nice restaurant. And he called the waiter over and he said, I don't get to see my grandchildren for their birthday. I want you to bring out cakes for all of them. And so it wasn't just a like, oh, come bring out the free cake. No, he said, I would like it if you brought out cakes for each of them, and we are having a birthday celebration right now. And it was
cute. I didn't remember that.
So that would explain that picture and why there's so many birthday cakes.
And I bet at that time John had stopped eating sugar, which is probably why there's only 4. So it's not a matter of time. It's a matter of who eats cake and who doesn't. Okay. I'm glad you remembered that, Yvonne, because I didn't.
If I remember correctly, the waiter is behind. There's another waiter holding more cake.
Oh, really?
Right. John didn't eat any, but Granddad made sure that there were cakes for everybody, and that we were all included, and that it felt like a full celebration of all of us.
That's nice. See, I'm glad
because he took you to a. Go on, Erin.
I was going to say, I'm glad that you're here too, because like I said, the age gap, like there's so much that you would remember better than me. Like, because even at this point, even though I'm older, there were certain things that I like didn't grasp about the church's effect on our family and the disconnection. Like I was sort of sheltered from it to a degree, but you were old enough that you had way more insight than I did. And I think you were participating in certain things that I had no idea were even going on in terms of like him and the connection to the family. So I'm very glad you're here to remind us of those things.
I'm always happy to hang out with my cousin and my aunt and Mark.
This was so fun playing with those puppets, actually.
We had a blast.
Yeah, so that's you.
Yeah. We were in like some hotel on the strip where they have all those like magic shops and like just things to buy. And we went into a magic shop and there was all these puppets and we just started playing with each other as adult cousins.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
That's the same
Yvonne.
time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he would take them to a dinner and a show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's Yvonne with Granddad, and then Yvonne's younger brother. How many years older are you than Arthur?
I couldn't tell you. He's much more mature than me. I can tell you that.
He's 11 years younger than me. I'm 29.
He was 20, maybe 22 when he was born.
Okay. Yeah, he was a big surprise, but yeah, he was born on Erin's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was Erin's 11th birthday present.
Yeah.
Okay, and there's Richard and Arthur a few years later with Granddad. Okay. And that's Granddad hugging Yvonne and Nicole. Sorry, Evie.
I just miss him so much.
Yeah.
You know, he really brought so much to every moment he was with us. And now I don't know if it was him or because he would have to go for years at a time and we didn't know if it was going to be tomorrow or next year or what. So each moment we really all tried to hold on. And it was, it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then here, I don't know what the celebration was. Maybe it was him showing up again.
I think that's what it was. I think we just went out because he was there.
Yeah. So we went out.
Is this around the time when he came, when you guys, handled him or whatever?
It might be. Well, that was 2012. You might be right, Mark, because he showed up.
I'm looking at the age of John and Erin and all that.
Right. Yeah. And if you look at his jacket, his sweatsuit, it says flag on it.
Yeah.
And he had a whole bunch of those because he says he's the one who said, why don't you do a sweatsuit with flag on it? And so
I have to
he
go take care of kids.
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys. Thank you so
That's
much.
okay. Thanks.
Please take care.
Thank
Bye,
you for
love you.
coming on.
Yvonne.
Okay.
I was
Anyway,
just-
so
Go ahead, Janis.
yeah, in 2012, he'd been out of touch with us for probably 3-4 years or something like that. And the last time he talked to us, he said, I'm going to be out of touch with you for several years, but you know how to get a hold of me. And then he showed up because my brother had done an interview with a news channel at Rifle in La Quinta and was talking about what life was like when we lived in La Quinta. And then I started speaking out and was on different ex-Sea Org channels. And so Dad was trying to get eligible for OT8, and he was called in and was being sec checked, and to try and find out actually if he'd been in communication with us. And he could say he hadn't been in touch with us, even if he'd been in touch with the grandchildren. He hadn't been during that time period in touch with us. So he was then told by Marion Powell, who had grown up with Terry and I, he was told by Marion, you need to go and handle Peter and Janis. They've got to stop speaking out. So Dad shows up and starts trying to handle us. And we instead turned it around and pointed out to him how his donations to the IRS is paying for the IAS. His donations are paying for private investigators to interfere with our life, and how we've had them following us for years, and including him, and that is, that it's not Scientology anymore. It's not what he signed up for 60 years before. And then we get him around that same time. We're tipped off by Mark Headley, who was talking to a financial consultant about how Dad had been ripped off on the sale of his company by some fellow Scientologists. So we started questioning him about that and started having him dig into it and get all the papers, where we find out that what's in his head is totally different to what's on the paperwork. And he'd been ripped off. And then the Scientologists were only trying to get money out of him. No one was trying to help him as a person or anything. And he's now 85 years old. So we took it upon ourselves to get, hey, Dad, you need some help. Let us help you. And we stuck with him through his whole lawsuit, which was against other Scientologists. And that's actually what got him declared, was because he sued fellow Scientologists without going through the International Justice Chief. But they had royally ripped him off, and it finally got settled and everything. But he, at that point, he came over to us. He trusted us. He had family, and we got him a house, and we got him moved, and getting to spend time with his grandkids and his kids. And he'd go horse riding with Terry and I, and he'd go to dinners, and he finally had people around that he could trust. And he saw that, and he became happier and happier, and was no longer on that withhold of having to see his family. And here he is. This is me holding TJ.
Is that TJ or Elizabeth?
I thought that was TJ. That's TJ.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, with Yvonne there in the green, and Granddad and my brother behind us.
TJ.
Yvonne's
That's Yvonne's oldest.
Oh,
Thomas. Okay. Yeah. Her two boys are TJ and JP. Yeah. All right. So next one, and there's Erin and Yvonne with Granddad. This was at the horse ranch that we had. So, and then for his 90th birthday, my sister and I took him to Australia so that he could see his brother, and we were at my cousin's house here on his 90th birthday. And he was in pretty good shape there at 90 years old. And he took us back to where he was born. His own grandmother's house where he'd been born had been torn down, but he took us to where it was. And we just went to all the different places where he grew up. And he seemed to have enjoyed that. And he could freely travel with us, and we could post photographs because he was declared and no longer part of that group that had disconnected from us.
And I would say by this time, you guys had like scheduled regular activities with him so that there was a consistent family, vibe around him. Like you guys would do breakfast at Starbucks once a week, and you would do dinner at Terry's house certain nights, dinner at your house other nights. And then there was dinner where everybody came to one house. And it was like throughout the week, there was multiple things to look forward to where people he loved and could trust would be around him with him, because he was quite old at that point and couldn't do a lot of things he was passionate about before. And so much of it had been tied to the church, and he really was not involved with them anymore at that point. So I just wanted to point out, you guys definitely created a lifestyle for him so he could still be comfortable and not feel like he'd lost so much.
Right.
He must have been very happy being able to openly, spend time with you.
Right? It was like a relief for him. You could actually see that and his joy. And he loved coming over, just to have dinner and be with everyone. He really got a joy out of that. Yeah. And he didn't watch the movie. He'd sleep during the movie.
He would watch like the first 15 minutes. He would try, and then he'd be asleep.
Yeah.
But at least he was happy sitting down.
He had been involved in Scientology for so many years that even though he was out, I'm sure he probably still believed and followed a lot of the stuff in Scientology, I would imagine, right, Janis?
Oh, yeah. Yes, he was still a Scientologist mentally, and that was okay. That was fine with us. He'd been doing it for over 60 years, and because he reconnected with his family and he sued some people that had ripped him off, he was declared an outcast, So, but we were there for him, and he appreciated that. And we didn't, I went for 5 years as a teenager not seeing him, and all these years, and, he'd left us in the Sea Org, but none of us held that against him. It was like we were just happy to finally have him back in our lives. And so from the age of like 85 to 93, when he passed away, he had those really good years of being reconnected with family and being with people who he loved and they loved him. And they weren't just there trying to get his money. I was going through his stuff the other day, and I'm finding all these cards from these Regis who are just stroking his ego on how wonderful he is. And it was just to get money from him. It wasn't because of who he was as a person.
I think even coming out, like he did get to attend several gatherings, right? So he ultimately ended up in front of people who genuinely respected him for what he was saying, not because they could get any money from him, because the church was no longer involved. But I do think his legacy still carried on, and the respect that he gives others, it certainly came back to him, even leaving the church. But I think he still had that dynamic a bit with people.
Janis, were you ever able to tell him about what happened and why you left the Sea Organization and Terry, and about Miscavige and what had gone on?
Oh, yes.
Tell him that story. Was it after he moved to Vegas, or was it when you guys were trying to get him to say, hey, you need to come out, or
it was part of trying to get him out, trying to expose to him the truth. And he started seeing it, and things started adding up, and, and he still stayed in touch with some of his other friends, and he'd hear things from them as well. So it was all part of it. And, and I put on several events where we'd have a couple of hundred people who come to Vegas for a book release or a birthday party, when he turned 87 and my sister
we had that big
60.
birthday
we had that big birthday party. And he felt at home with all these people that had been ex-Scientologists, but they still respected him for who he was and what he had done in his accomplishments as a Scientologist in helping other people.
Yeah.
Which is a very different to the attitude of, it was just a different era.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same as what it is today. But yeah, anyway, he got acknowledged and respected by all these people, and people happy to see him again. And he would remember them, and, you know, from St. Hill or from LA days and that type of thing. So it was great for him being out to see that. And then people would come to town, and they'd go to breakfast with us and with Dad, and, you know, and they always showed him such respect.
Yeah,
he always was. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, he was still very much famous, even leaving the church. And I don't know if it was a concern for him to lose reputation, and that's perhaps why he stayed in so long. But I remember people coming up to me at those events, and I would hear positive things about everyone in my family. But usually it was about my grandmother, Yvonne, and how amazing she was, or my grandfather, Peter, and how like some lecture changed someone's life. And, oh, I used to go and do this for him. And like, it was always stories how amazing they were and impressive they were. So he definitely still maintained a level of positive fame.
Yeah, and I've told this story before, but we went on a cruise together into the Bahamas, Janis, and Peter came along. Your dad came along, and we were in the Grand Cayman, I think it was, and he was sitting in a chair when we were on an excursion. And I walked up to him and I said, "Do you mind if I take a photograph of you?" And he said, "Why in the world would you want to take a photograph of me?" And I said, "Because you're a legend." And he laughed. And he let me take the photograph.
Yeah.
He wasn't expecting that answer, but he liked it.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, part of, you know, him leaving, he had to get used to the idea that he was going to be shunned.
Yeah.
You know, and not be able to talk to all his old timers. Like even a friend, Rosemary Deltafield. Rosemary had been our receptionist back in the early 60s at the Mission back in Melbourne. And she married Ken Deltafield, and she remained a close friend of Dad's all the way to the end. But when he got declared, she was very careful on that relationship. And he had lent her money so that she could do some services. And she sent him a check on time, even though he was declared. She sent that check and honored it, where other people were known to, oh, he's now declared, I'm not going to pay off my debt to him. But she honored it. And then at the end, you know, my brother, sister, and I, when Dad passed, we wrote Rosemary and said, we think our father would want us to forgive this debt because you've been such a true friend to him. And which at her age now, you know, she was probably in her 80s. She really appreciated not having to make that monthly payment to him. But he helped her out, though he was no longer in. He helped her out because that's what she believed in.
That's great. I've got some of the photographs here.
Yeah, this is at my nephew's wedding. Richard, that's Yvonne's second youngest brother, and he got married in Hawaii. So we took Dad to Hawaii when he was 91 years old. And here he is doing the tea ceremony at their wedding. What, Erin?
I said I was pregnant on that trip.
Yeah, you were. That's right. And then here's Yvonne with Thomas, TJ, and Peter. This was also in Hawaii at the wedding. And there Dad is with my brother, me, and my sister when we were in Hawaii. You know, and I think it's pretty, you know, at 91 years old, traveling from Las Vegas to Hawaii, and at 90 years old, traveling to Australia. He was a trooper. Wherever we went, he wanted to go with us. Mm-hmm. And this is the whole gang of my kids, my brother's kids, and my sister, and grandchildren, and the first great-grandchild. And then I guess my dad was probably about 92 in this picture. Yvonne and TJ and my brother came to visit. And this was, there's Dad with Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And
he was 93 by that point, and he's holding her standing. Like, he was in great shape.
Yeah. Because at that point, you were staying with Granddad to help him.
Yeah.
And
we would make him all his meals and go do trips. Like, he wanted to drive. He thought he was a great driver still, but it was a little bit concerning. So I would like drive him to our family dinners and to the grocery store to get groceries. And we would just handle all the meals and clean up. And he got to be around us and the baby. And he wasn't bothered by crying at night because he could barely hear. So it was really an ideal place to stay with a newborn.
I was going to say, every time I was around him, he was very quiet. Was that more so because he couldn't hear?
Yeah, he couldn't hear.
Very reserved. Huh?
Yeah. But he still wanted to be there. He went like,
oh yeah.
He would much rather sit there, not really able to understand, just watching people. And if you came close and engaged with him, he would do his best to communicate, and you just have to speak loudly. But he was okay being quieter and still being with everyone versus going off and just being alone and doing something that's maybe more engaging for him.
Yeah.
And then this is a photo of, there's my sister and Nicole and my dad and Arthur and Peter and Yvonne and her husband Chance and Erin, you've got TJ in your arms there. And then
that looks like her child.
yeah, that's TJ. So, and this I think is out as the last kind of big group family photo.
Yeah, and it's also the last photo we've got here. So we had.
Yeah.
And he passed away. How old was he when he passed away?
He was 93 years old. He died December 6, 2020. And he'd had a good life. And we will do interview more people, and I'll do things covering his earlier life and, other stuff about him and his development of Natural Calm. And his company had Natural Vitality, which is now owned by Clorox. But he was very, very good, always trying to help people.
He also had Peter Gillham's Nutrition Center, which you still have, and you still sell supplements through that.
Yes.
Yes, and I changed now, but
and I changed the name to Peter Gillham's Life Essentials because I just want to keep his legacy there as that vitamin king.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and the whole reason we're bringing this up is to let people know, Janis, that you declared this to be the year of connection, right? 2024.
Yes, the year of connection. Let's make it something for everyone to work towards on reconnecting, connecting. Whether you're in Scientology and you've got family members and friends out, work to connect. If you're out and you've got parents and brothers and sisters and family members in, send them a calendar, send them photographs. Just keep that communication flow going, whether you get an answer or not. It could take a while. Just keep that going, and they at least know that you're there for them. And then when they need you, they know you're there and that they can go to you for help.
It's a demonstration of loyalty for sure. You consistently sending those things, it's loyalty. And that's what they need before they can trust you and fully come out, is that loyalty.
Yeah, and the other thing too is this, and not just connection with people still in Scientology, connection with your if your family have never been in Scientology, or with your friends that maybe you've lost touch with or you grew up with and all that. It's very healthy and very, it's a good thing to be in touch. I'm in touch with a friend of mine that I went to high school with, and we talk once or twice a week. Connection is a good thing. Connection helps improve our lives. And so, this whole idea of focusing on connecting with people, I think is a really good one for this coming year.
Right. Yep. Old or new, connect. That's the theme.
And just so people know, not in connection, but similar type thing, is that Janis and I, we're organizing up a cruise out of Long Beach, California, a 3-day cruise, and we'll be announcing the details of that very soon. We've got some dates picked out. We're just trying to line up who exactly is going to be going. Several channel creators are possibly going to go. And once we have that, we're going to make an announcement. But it's a way for all of us to connect with you, our viewers, and the different channel creators, and just get to know each other better. So that's coming up here literally within the next month or two. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be happy to go over that with you when we can. Anyway, I wanted to say we're going to go to questions and answers now. So you can, if you have a question, please write in the chat, write the word questions. We've got some comments that have already started and all that sort of stuff. And then also, if you would, if you're interested in this content, please subscribe to our channel. Just hit that subscribe button, rock slam that like button, and hit the notifications. Just wanted to mention that there. Anyway, we'll go to, I just got a few right now, but if there's more people, if you've got questions or comments, please state them in there, and we'll go ahead and get started here. This is the one that you mentioned before, Janis, about she's halfway through your book and loving it.
Yeah. And you know what, Mark? Let's give a book away.
Do you want to give a book away?
Yeah, we'll give a book away. Yep.
Okay. Well, we'll do that here in just a minute. If you guys are interested in getting a book, an autographed copy of Janis's book, get in the chat, okay? And we're going to give you a little bit of time because there's a delay. And just write book me or whatever, and we'll just randomly select somebody, and we will send you an autographed copy of Janis's book for free as a gift. So anyway, we'll wait. Janis, if you'll keep an eye on it here, I'm going to go ahead to a couple of the comments, and then I'll come back. And let's get in the chat, everybody, and just say book me if you're interested. And so I'll go to the next comment here, which is this one here. And this is from One Love 51000. I applaud Janis for leaving Scientology when she was pregnant with her first child. She saved them from a lifetime of hurt. What a good mother.
I absolutely agree with that. I did save them from a lifetime of hurt.
Yeah, and it is true, Janis. You were definitely a good mother doing that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Is people getting in the chat? I'm going to keep doing these. You let me know.
Yeah, there are some people there. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go. Okay. It's just one other comment, and then we'll go ahead.
Can I say mug me just because it makes me laugh so much?
Yeah,
yes,
that's fine. Mug
yes,
me,
we can mug you.
Love Food Kitchen says, whose knees do I have to bust? The name is D. Miscavige, so that's funny.
There you go.
All right, so I'm back in the live here. Okay, so we're going to randomly pick, if you guys just will go in there and just say book me, mug me, or whatever, and then Erin will let you count down from 5, and then I will just randomly select somebody, okay?
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, Bernice Dooley. Congratulations, you've won an autographed copy of one of Janis's books. Thank you, Bernice. Anyway, what you need to do is, if you would email Janis at janisgillhamgrady@gmail.com with your name, your mailing address, and your contact information, and Janis will get it shipped out to you like almost immediately. So anyway, but she'll autograph. Also, if you, in the email, if you want it personalized, the autograph, some message or something in there, just include that in the email. And so it's janisgillhamgrady@gmail.com, and we want to say congratulations to you, Bernice. And anyway. Congratulations to everybody there. I'm going to go back to the comments here. We just got a few more. Any questions, please get in the chat. You can do that. Here's from Love Food Kitchen. I really hope Terry eventually decides to do a video with you. I was looking at some documents and was reminded, as well as ASI, she was one of the founders of RTC, such a central figure in Scientology history. Janis?
Oh, maybe. We'll see.
Honestly, I keep thinking it too. I want her to do it, but I don't know if she will.
There are reasons why she is not. I mean, she would love to tell her story, but there are reasons as to why she is not. So, we.
Yeah, I never push her on it.
No, we'll respect her viewpoint.
But I do want to say one of the reasons is she has animals. She has a lot of horses.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. And, we've seen and heard of other people for speaking out. They've been attacked and their animals have been attacked. And we don't want that to happen to any of the animals. I have a horse at her place. We don't want anything to happen to him. So for the protection of the animals, it's best that we continue as we do and leave Terry out of it.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for that.
It's just like I didn't speak out when my kids were little because I didn't want anything happening to my kids. But as soon as they were old enough and out of the house, I started speaking up.
Right. That's right. Okay, Danielle. Hi, Danielle Chamberlain. Wow. Yvonne Arthur looks like your son. Yvonne Arthur looks like your son.
We used to kind of say that when he was first born, actually. She spent so much time helping with him. It was like it was her kid, not her brother. She was super good with him.
She does, yeah. All right, here's a question from old Fritz. Do you still believe in past lives? Janis, I'll let you start with that.
I do, because I do have deja vus, and as I travel different places, it's like, have I been here before?
Yeah, like a cruise too.
Yeah.
I believe in it too, only because I've had experience. Look, not everybody's going to believe everything that everybody else does. I mean, every religion, everybody's got different beliefs. I do believe that I've lived before. I do believe that I will live again. And that's just my personal belief, but I don't push that on other people.
I agree. I was recalling past lives in my childhood, and especially when I would go to certain places, I'd get like hit with an entire it's so profound and detailed that I knew past lives were real. But I think it's something you have to really experience to fully believe in, and all three of us kind of have.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that question. Necessary Trouble. Janis is so forgiving and compassionate. We could all learn from her. Absolutely.
No, thank you.
Next, Love Food Kitchen again. It makes so much sense. What an amazing person Janis is, despite everything she's been through, when you hear what wonderful people her parents were. There you go, Janis. Boy, it's a love fest for you today.
Yeah, it is. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I send the love back.
Here's a comment from, I cannot never pronounce the first name, Mr. Rivas. I use Peter's vitamins formula for athletes, and it is marvelous. I think that knowledge and research should be preserved and taught.
Yes, I absolutely agree, and I'm glad you use those vitamins.
Where can people buy them?
They can buy them on, Vites, VITES.com. And the brand is Peter Gillham's Life Essentials. Mm-hmm. And these are the ones he's referring to. Is these are daily packs that we've pre-made up for the high performance. So if you're an athlete or very active, this is the daily pack for those type of people, where we have daily packs for balanced body for people who aren't that active, but take vitamins. We do it in the daily pack, so you don't have to have all the bottles in your cabinet and make them yourself. We just do the packages already for you.
Yeah. Chuck Beatty is in the house. Hey, Chuck, it's good to see you here. Chuck Beatty is a long-term friend of ours, a former Sea Org member that we've known for many years. Chuck Beatty, I imagine all the people who worked in the Peter Gillham stores over the decades are people with loads of stories.
Yes, true. And also, Tori Chrisman is one of those. She worked with my dad, and we are going to have her on this channel, and I'll get her to tell some stories too, because she worked with him, I believe, at the store, and also when he did his lectures, she helped organize the lectures.
I didn't know that about her. I know her. I just didn't know she worked with him.
Yeah, she knew your grandfather well.
Okay. Elizabeth H. comment, agreed about reaching out to everyone. I share that message with family who lost connect with their daughters and grandchildren. Absolutely. It's not just Scientology that tears families apart. There's various reasons why families are not in communication anymore with their kids, their grandkids, their parents. And communication and being connected is definitely a healthy thing to do.
Yeah. And it's not healthy to hold on to upsets. You've got to let that go and forgive.
Yeah.
And that's also key. So even if someone did something bad to you and you're upset with them about it, you got to forgive and reconnect, and you'll all feel better about it.
Yeah. And you can't really understand any of the decisions that they'll have made if you're holding that hurt in front of your heart and not opening to the compassion that was mentioned that you have.
Okay. Next, we have a question again. This is from Elizabeth H. After reading the first book, I wondered, did Mary Sue complete any auditing, become clear, or OT levels? Was Janis able to contact her after Project Snow White? Did you have any contact with her after she went to jail?
Mary Sue did clear before the Sea Org. She did that back at St. Hill. And then during the Sea Org day, she solo audited, and she got auditing and so forth. And then even later on, after the whole Snow White project, she got auditing. Now, last time I saw Mary Sue was probably in 1980. I used to see her when she was living with Hubbard at Rifle in La Quinta. And then he left and she stayed. And then she left for him to be able to come back to La Quinta. And she moved to Los Angeles. And that was in 78, 79. And then I didn't see her until 1980 when we were in LA. A bunch of us messengers went to the movie theater. And there was Mary Sue. So I got to see her and chat with her a little bit, and she was happy to see me. And that was the last time I saw her, but I stayed in touch with her when I got married, because I'd invited her to come to the wedding, and she'd sent me a bridal gift and then a wedding gift later on. So I'd stayed in touch with her for a while, and then I got in trouble and I wasn't in touch with anybody. I was chasing gophers on the golf course, and that's a whole nother story. But so I did stay in touch with her a little bit after she got separated from the group.
Okay. Question here from OneLove51000. Question, did you all have a nice holiday? Mark, how is your mom? Best wishes to all of you for a happy and peaceful New Year. Yeah, we did. Mine was uneventful, nothing really major, but I did spend time with my mother, and my mom's actually doing really well. She's 93 going on 94, and she's in relatively good health. And I just went and saw her yesterday, and I'll go see her again tomorrow. And, she's just living her life. And, anyway, thanks for asking. I appreciate it. How about the rest of you? Had good holidays?
Well, I did.
Elizabeth was sick, so I spent half of my holiday in a room taking care of her. But the other half, I saw some people that I really love, and so I was able to enjoy those parts. And I love my child. Even when she's sick, she's very sweet to me and gives me lots of love. So it still wasn't horrible. The horrible part was just that she wasn't well.
Yeah. Well, Erin and my sister and I actually went and spent it with my brother and Yvonne, and saw Nicole, our other niece. We spent some time with them, and then we spent some time with some other close friends that I'd been in the Sea Org with, and they had 3 children, and so Elizabeth got to play with them as well.
Well, play is a strong word. I was going to say she was sleeping most of the time. Yeah. But by the very last day, she felt well enough to engage a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got another question here from Love Maddie. What church kills pets and may go after children, etc.? They need to lose their tax exemption yesterday and be brought to justice for all they've done. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. It's really sad what they do, and we're trying to expose the truth about the different abuses that went on. Let people tell their stories, and this is something that's really, really shameful. Anyway.
Yeah, people shouldn't have to live in fear of that happening. Of someone kidnapping their children or a car being stolen or, anything like that, or have to worry about their animals. That's just not right.
Exactly. Well, I wanted to let Erin, why don't you tell everybody about your business and what you've got going on, and we can promote your product here. Go ahead.
Sure. Actually, I was thinking about it a little bit earlier because when I first was approached and asked to make this product, I was asked because of my background, and part of that background is my family background. So my grandfather and my father were both very into natural health and made all sorts of different products. My grandfather sold them globally, and my father mostly just shared with his own circle. And I find I've come kind of in the middle of both of them, where I started by sharing with family and friends and then grew it into an actual company. So yeah, my company is Healed by Oracle, and you can go to healedbyoracle.com. And I only have one product for sale right now, but I am going to expand it. And currently it's a CBD healing salve with emu oil, and it's doing amazing things for people. This audience in particular has been so supportive, and I really appreciate all of you. I think I even saw the name, one of the comments, Elizabeth H. I'm pretty sure that's an Elizabeth H that's ordered from me. So thank you. Thank you to all of you. I really appreciate it. It's amazing seeing you guys reorder and contact me with awesome reviews of how it's changed your life. That makes me so happy. That's actually the reason it's become a company, is because it was so good for people that I couldn't bring myself to stop making it. I felt it was doing too much good. I had to extend it. So
Erin, tell me a little bit, what is the CBD salve? What does it do? And a little bit about the products for anybody who might want to order it.
Sure. Yeah. So it's only got 6 ingredients if you order the unscented. If you do the scented one, there's also an essential oil blend added to it, but it's very lightly scented. And my favorite ingredient in all of it is the emu oil. When I first heard it, I was a little like, what do you mean emu oil? But I researched it. There's amazing medical studies that have been done on it. It takes care of a lot of issues. And it actually increases the power of the CBD too, because CBD, its molecules, like, it's too big to fit through the pores of your skin and actually go down and soothe the inflammation beneath the surface. But emu oil, it is small enough because it's close to human skin oil. So it gets absorbed and it carries other things with it. So it joins with the CBD and it takes it deeper, and both are anti-inflammatory. So when you apply it to an area where you have inflammation, it acts very quickly and very effectively to soothe that.
I was going to say, I had used some of it. I had some inflammation on my wrist here, and you just have to use a little bit of it, and you rub it in,
barely.
And the inflammation and pain goes away almost immediately. It's really amazing stuff. Anybody having any joint pain or anything, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, if I paint for a long time, I have to use it on my hands because they just hurt so bad from holding a paintbrush like this constantly, and it'll just take it away, and I'll be able to make my dinner without pain. It's little things like that where your whole life has changed because you didn't just suffer for an hour unnecessarily. So I'm really glad that I was asked to make it, that I did make it, and that it's working. And I hope it can help more people.
Yeah, so I know it worked.
Healedbyoracle.com, and you can order your own. Sorry, Janis, go ahead.
Yep. No, I agree. It totally works. I'll sometimes get a pain right here, and I just put some on, and the pain's gone. Or, on my knees, sometimes they hurt, and put it on, and relief.
And actually, I haven't posted it yet, so keep an eye out for it. But I do plan on doing a sort of raffle where you'll have the opportunity to win basically a year's worth of salve for free.
Cool.
So I will let people know. Even if you just want to go to my website and sign up for the email list, I will be announcing that at some point.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Well, I want to remind everybody again, please subscribe to our channel if you're interested in this subject or information. It helps us get the story out to other people. And if you have any questions or comments, please ask in the comments down below. If any opinions, anything like that, we check them all the time and we will answer them. And also, of course, rock slam that like button. That helps as well. And if you're interested in donating to our channel, buy us a coffee. Down in the description below, there's a link where you can buy us a coffee. Also, there's a link there to Erin's website for the Healing by Oracle. So anyway, we appreciate any support that you people provide to us, and we really appreciate you all watching. And we want to thank Yvonne, your niece and your cousin, for being on the show, and she had to leave with for her children and all that. But is there anything else any of you would like to say before we end this live stream?
No,
please make it a year of connection.
That's right, everybody, reach out, connect to somebody. You never know how it may change your life, for the positive.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
all right, until next time, everybody, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.